I get anxious just even thinking about it because
Uh,
the anxiety in the dream was so acute.
Welcome, dreamer. Thank you for being on. Please tell me your dream. I really appreciate your willingness to share your dream with us today.
You are so welcome. I'm glad to be here and love to share our dreams.
Will you tell us just a couple of things about yourself?
Well, I have been a therapist, a psychologist for 40 years, and I'm still working part-time. And I live near the beach. So walking on the beach on New Year's is a tradition. And I did that this year as well. I'm one of 9 children. I'd like to share that because I always think that's really quite remarkable these days to have 8 siblings. And so I have had a lifetime of a lot of opportunity for many things. And I always say my field work was my family. So
I
um,
like that.
I've been remembering my dreams, I think, my entire life, actually. So
Wonderful.
very big on dream work. And I'm a dancer,
Sweet. Oh, okay. What kind of dance?
flamenco, the mature woman's dance.
Very vital.
Yes, very.
All right. Please tell me your dream.
Well, this dream happened when I was struggling with my marriage, my young marriage. Well, I was actually we had been married 10 years before we had a child, and my daughter was 2 years old when I had this dream, and I was struggling trying to understand what my next move was or what to do or whatever. And I had this dream of being an archaeologist in the Antarctic, and my daughter and a companion were on an ice floe, and the floe broke away from the main piece of ice, and she was going to drift out to sea, and if she didn't jump to me immediately, she would be lost forever. At the same time, as I looked to my right, there was a giant snowy owl encased in ice in the shape of the old fashioned coffin.
Wow.
Yes.
These are rich images. I am very eager to find out what your associations are. And I'm making a couple of notes. So,
Okay.
okay. And for clarification, did you say your daughter was on the ice floe with another child? Another?
I wrote it down. I looked back. I actually, I have all my dream books, right? So I
Mhm.
looked back on that one and to make sure, because I had actually forgotten she had a why I wrote specifically companion. So I am curious about that because I had not remembered that piece of it.
And was that companion the same age as the child?
I'm assuming so.
Okay.
That would be my assumption as well.
Dreamer, what was the feeling tone when you woke up?
So yes, and I can feel it today. I had a big 4 poster bed at the time, and I was sitting up, and I'm just with this remarkable sense of heavy. It was very heavy, and I thought, what in the world am I experiencing and feeling so stuck and so I thought frozen was a word that kept bubbling back through, and I thought, God, a frozen tundra, what the heck? And
Yeah.
I knew it was an important dream, and it was a little on the shocking side, well, a lot on the shocking side actually, that the largeness. It was so huge, the snowy owl. I mean, gigantic. And the coffin shape was so classic.
Huh.
I thought, oh my God, frozen. Everything's frozen. That's when I started doing some work.
Okay. Tell me about archaeologists.
Yes. So how it's funny because I had another dream in which I'm an archaeologist in Egypt. That's another archetypal dream that I had. There are two of these dreams, what I would call archetypal, that was so powerful that I've been in many ways living out those two dreams my entire life.
Wow.
And so the impact has been really quite enormous. So as an archaeologist, and in fact, that was a thought before I went to college at some point in my high school. The archaeology would be an interesting field to be in because you discover things and uncover things. And it's ancient and old and has all this history, but it's also very painstaking when you do any kind of site where you're trying to find what and who lived there. So it has that excitement in my mind of discovery, but wouldn't like the tediousness of the work.
That's a word, tedious. Yeah. So do you ever watch archaeology documentaries?
Yes. Yes. So I love all of of course, the ancient Egyptian stuff. And that was one of the dreams. And I had been to Egypt. My honeymoon in 1972 was to Europe and the Middle East. And so we had an incredible opportunity to go to Egypt. So archaeology, historically speaking, or anything that has, when you're continuing to rediscover, discover anew, or change history because of the discovery.
Indeed. New discoveries, right, can sort of amend or rewrite our impressions or our perception of what happened.
Yes.
Something like that. That's exactly right. Because I
Yes.
watched those documentaries too, and when they really uncover something interesting, that they say things like that. This is going to rewrite the history books.
Yes. Yes. Oftentimes.
So if this is what you're presented with, you are struggling with a marriage,
Yes.
to use a therapy term,
Yeah.
where was it a reframe of some sort?
Could you say something more about that? What do you mean by
Yeah, to
what?
reframe something is to think about something from a different point of view, or have a different perception, or make a different decision about it.
The marriage itself? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, what was hanging me up, which, I work with a lot of couples with this one theme about, when you make a vow, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny because I became a Quaker. Quakers don't do vows. They don't
Ah,
make those kinds of promises, etc. But I was struggling with that. And marriage to me was a commitment, but you can't do it, which is you have to have both people involved. And so I was finally thinking in many ways about what what to would I leave the marriage? Would I get a divorce? The word divorce finally popped through at some point because I really had been pushing that away because of my young child.
sure.
It still took me 4 years.
Mm, yeah. So that
So
might be what this was commenting on, because that's what
yeah,
you kind of gave as a context for when you
right,
had the dream.
right. I had to dig a little bit more before I could make that decision. That's yeah.
Okay. So at least on one level, that might be what this dream was commenting on, at least on one level. As we know, dreams can speak on different levels about different things all at the same time because our dreams are way smarter than we are.
Well, the marriage was supposed to, be one of these golden couples. We both had PhDs, and we're, going to open up practice, and none of that worked with him.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was a lot of, and I struggled to keep creating, to make it happen, to whatever,
Yes. Yes. So that leads us to the next idea, I think, maybe, let's see, but we were talking about Antarctica.
Yes.
Okay. Did I spell that right? I hope I did.
Yeah, I was just how anti-Arctic, but it's anta.
Brilliant. What's going on in Antarctica? I mean, just tell us about Antarctica or your impressions of Antarctica.
Just again, it just struck me how frozen, and what was that about, was what was frozen. And I thought, okay, and I probably was on autopilot for a very long time, new mother and all that, and doing everything. And I was supervising a 24-hour response team from social
Oof.
service. Yeah, at the time. And so it was all very intense. And I think I was on autopilot, so I didn't feel much of anything. I think I numbed out. And so I was aware of being, or somehow I was not emotional, you know. And I'm my son's sign is Cancer, so emotions are descriptive of a Cancerian. And I really was just in my head trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step?
So I also, I mean, this is my question.
Yes.
I wondered when you told the dream, was the relationship frozen?
I'd say yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because he was no longer participating in a way that made sense. It was like I was in the marriage by myself, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So again, this is sort of following the lines of what we're talking about. An archaeologist looking to discover, uncover, rediscover, dig a little bit more in this frozen tundra that is Antarctica. One thing I'd like to just say that also occurred to me was Antarctica is actually full of life. That's where all those great penguins live.
Yes.
It's
Whales, all kinds of sea life. Yes.
yeah. And also there is earth underneath it. Right. My understanding of the Arctic, the northern Arctic, is that that's just a bunch of ice. But
Right.
Antarctica has actually got some earth underneath it, some ground, if you will. There's ground under all of that frozen stuff. And there's life there. So is it okay if I write that down?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. It's reminding me, I did have a little dream walking again on the Antarctic, tripping over the capstone of a pyramid that led to an underground city. I actually ended up writing a little bit about that at some point.
Cool.
But again, long time ago.
I really like that as a symbol. If that is symbolizing this is where you were in your emotions, there is something underneath all of this, and there's life under there.
Yes.
I mean, there's life here. It's just a question of, okay, let's dig, as you indicated. This is so good. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to say about this location? Do you have a sense of when you were there as an archaeologist, what exactly do you think you were looking for in the dream?
In the dream, I think I was sent. I was sent there
Okay.
to discover something.
Well, that's kind of what our dreams do, don't they? They send us places.
to discover something.
I love that.
And it's funny because
Okay.
I thought later, why was I bringing my daughter and a little friend? That seems a little out of, not exactly the right environment for children.
So that is really interesting. But if we look at it in context with this,
Yeah,
that this is a state of feeling or a state of coping or a state of just getting through the day on
yeah,
autopilot, not right?
yes. Very limbo-like state.
Oh, okay, okay. And you said she was quite young. She was a
It's
what,
true.
how, two. So, okay, toddler. That is quite young. And so let's do this. I think, she was there for a reason. Whoever sent you there to discover something, I don't know. Is it possible this is the very thing you were supposed to discover? Is this child getting ready to float away? But let's not jump the gun. Do you mind sharing her name or a name you'd like to use?
It's Bree, Bree.
Okay. And in the dream, she is age 2. Okay. Do you remember how she was at age 2?
Oh gosh, she was adorable at age 2.
Of course she
Uh,
was.
and she, just full of life, exploring. She loved walking up and down stairs. I mean, she could not pass a staircase without asking somebody with her hand, take me up. So she would go up and down, up and down. But she also was incredibly creative.
Ah,
That turned out. I mean, I don't know at 2, but she was wearing her little outfits and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember at age 3, she asked me if she was new. I said, new. She said, yes, new, like new from, oh, what was the hair? I was going to say Clairol or something, but she was saying she was associating a hair color change to being new, as in her being a new person in this world.
oh my.
So yeah, so she was always inquisitive her entire life. So
Oh, that's adorable.
she had a small production company and she sings beautifully and she's very, very talented.
So at age 2, this was happening.
Yeah,
Age
right,
now,
right. Age now, she's very talented, but has a lot of medical issues. She's type 1 diabetic and has been since she age 11.
okay. All right. Now here's the next question that I love to ask when a child shows up in a dream at a particular age. And that is, if you can say, what were you like at age 2?
Well, I was number 7 child, and obviously my younger sister Martha was born. So who knows if I felt that kind of displacement. And I don't know whether to share this piece or not, Karen, but I'm going to, and then you can decide. But Martha and I are number 7 and 8 in our family. My father was a pilot. My mother, a beautiful musician. She was a pianist and classically trained and from Birmingham, Alabama. And so we did our ancestry and found out my mother had an affair. So my sister
Ah,
Martha and I are the product of that affair.
both of you.
Both of us, which in many ways, when I look at the bigger picture or the big picture of everything, it's like that to me is remarkable in the sense of because that would have been crushing had that been any other than the two of us sharing the same DNA because we were that close. So, but that was interesting. So at 2, I was also the first, I knocked my front teeth out walking. I was born in Boca Raton, Florida, and we were walking on the beach in the coral, and I fell and hit my front teeth and ended up in the Army Air Force hospital in Boca to take those 2 front teeth out. So I got all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth for 6 years.
Oh,
Or 4 years until I was 6. Yeah.
And do you remember it? Do you remember this?
Yes, I do have memory of actually being in the hospital because I think they gave me ether.
Oh, wow. Sure.
I don't know.
I'm thinking about the special bond that you and your sister obviously had, you know, and the impact even at that age. We absorb things as little bitties, and we absorb family dynamics even as a little bitty person, as a child. Maybe can't articulate it, but boy, we feel it, if you will, and might not be able to say anything about it or even identify it ever, or until much later. If there was a difference in the relationship, you and your sister had the special bond versus the rest of the children.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yes, does that inform your 2-year-old self? You bet it does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, in dreams, when children show up, and this is my teaching moment, when children show up, they can be pointing to our own future and our own potential. When our children show up in a dream, they could be pointing to our own future, our own potential. They represent little developing, but not yet quite developed parts of ourselves. And if it's a child that we can identify, like one of our own children, then we can look at their characteristics and understand it a little bit that way. If it's an unknown child, then we can think about that as our own unknown potential, our own unknown potential, or our own unknown future, the direction we're going. And I'm going to make a suggestion. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to make a suggestion here. At this critical juncture in your life where you were, having this struggle, the idea of losing this part of you, if something didn't happen, losing this full of life, this creative aspect of you, if, I don't know, something didn't happen, that it was in danger of floating away.
Yes.
On the ice floe.
It wasn't quite like I would, express a dying process. I was going to die and my spirit was absolutely going to die. It felt much more of that frozen, that did not, thawing was was the process, I suppose.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All my creativity, all my, yeah. I was, like I said, on autopilot, and I just put one foot in front of the other. So there was no real creativity. It was getting through every day.
Yeah. Numbed out versus full of life. Yes. No emotion versus full of life and creative. I'm just really interested in the juxtaposition of those two things. But okay. So the next aspect of the dream, though, that I'd like to touch on, if okay, and we get to come back to any of this.
Okay, great.
Is the little companion.
That is so interesting because I've done zero work on that one.
Okay.
I didn't remember. So this is new.
Okay. And the idea is that the little companion, was it another little girl, do you think? Or
I'm assuming so, but for some reason I think a little bit older, like say 4 as opposed to 2.
Okay.
Maybe. It just in my image, the child looks larger. So
okay. And that word companion is so, I don't know. I've got a feeling tone around that word.
Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, and a companion is almost old fashioned, you
Yeah.
know, to use that word. It's a softer sounding word for friend. It implies playfulness. And my sister Martha and I, being only 13 months apart, she was my companion. So Martha really represented in many ways because we did all kinds of adventures. And so when I think about companion, I also think, that was I would have wanted that for my daughter as well.
Think about also the idea that our dream work itself puts us in touch with the inner companion, that we all have an inner companion, which is maybe an idea of the, like, what Jung used to call, what Carl Jung used to call the self, meaning that sort of guiding divinity, which is inside all of us as an inner companion. So that's just a thought.
Let me
And
ask you,
yeah,
is Jesus considered the companion? I hadn't thought about
y-
that as a
yes, as an archetype, as we talk about
okay.
the Christ within,
Right.
is it, if that's what you're,
Yeah,
if
the
that,
Christ in, absolutely.
yes, yes,
Wow.
that's what I'm talking about. Okay.
All right.
So there's one idea
Yeah.
that we are always companioned, even when we're utterly alone. We do have an inner aspect that means we're not alone. We have a companion. And I think another idea about looking at this was age 2 and a little bit older, age 4, the idea that that little companion was a little bit more developed, just a teeny bit more along the way. I just keep going back though to this idea of the inner companion.
Well,
I-
you're saying to me that I'm never alone.
right.
That's probably what at the time I was feeling very alone.
Sure. Sure. And this was, at least on one level, if it were my dream, is that it suggests that that's not true, that we're never alone. We have
Yeah,
in,
right, quite
an
the opposite.
right, right. So that's just coming up very powerfully for me. And you get to say whether that rings with you or
Oh,
not.
totally, totally. And what's so exciting for me is because I didn't work on that piece of it. And so,
Right.
well, and it's so relevant right now. It's absolutely in my life.
Yes.
I've been
Yes.
through so much, but yes, I've never been alone. Not really. It has felt that way occasionally, but yes, the Christ, the seeker, the whole, my whole
Yeah.
life has been about. So that's beautiful. So that must have been
Excellent.
the encouragement that I needed at the time, you know?
Yes. Now, okay, that's great. Your dream is making me very excited. But there's a caution with that. When I get excited about a dream, it means sometimes I am projecting too much of me onto your dream. So we have to say
I
that
will,
out loud,
yeah,
right? And
yes.
acknowledge that. Okay. Now, let's talk about the action part of this dream, which is you called it the ice flow, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think ice flow is spelled like that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm interested in your idea about
Let me
an,
tell you, I get anxious just even thinking about it because
uh,
the anxiety in the dream was so acute. And I mean, I don't know whether I heard the crack, but it feels like I did of it breaking off and knowing if she didn't, and she did jump to me. I believe that, but it was that it will that happen or will I suffer the loss of the child?
yes. And so let's translate that to this being the wake up call. Like I heard the trumpet sound, I heard the alarm clock go off, you
Yeah,
know, I'm about to lose something of myself if I don't wake up. How does that sound?
Oh, that's perfect. Absolutely. That was the wake up.
Yeah. And the calling may be to reconnect,
Mhm.
because we get cut off from this inner strength and this inner companion. And here again is the alarm clock going off. Hey, here we need to reconnect with our own self and our inner companion, which is this.
That's beautiful. I love it. And I believe that actually did happen. And I'll add a little more to it once we finish with the dream.
So that's not the best part of this dream. Okay.
Woo, that was real. I can just feel it. It's like, ooh, jump, jump.
So you have the feeling though that she did jump, that you were able to reconnect.
Yes.
Okay. All right,
I
great.
saved I saved her. Ow.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's important when I say that out loud. I saved her.
And in a way you saved yourself, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, now let's go to this next image, which is so fantastic. And it is a giant snowy owl. Tell me all about him.
Okay, so I mean, seeing this gorgeous creature, lock, and I believe his wings were in flight.
Ooh.
And the coffin, the in the Western movies, you always see those coffins at a specific, way they were drawn. And it was ice, so it was, I could see the owl.
So may I use the word transparent?
Yes, transparent. Yes.
Let's stick with him for a second. And before we get to that, let's
Okay.
stick with him and you tell me.
So again, and of course, the snowy owl, or the owl, has continued to be a very important symbol in my life. I actually rescued an owl, but I'll tell you about that another time. But the owl did become in my life a really important. So the owl, again, and I'm very interested in myth and story and all that. And so for me, it represented Athena's owl. The owl is the communicator, comes with messages from the deep unconscious, and it can be messages of death, and it can be messages of transformation, etc. And I thought, oh my God, all my creativity, the writer, I always wanted to write for myself, basically. But yes, I thought, oh my gosh, all my creativity is frozen.
Yeah, yes. Messages from the deep unconscious, including messages of death and messages of, did you say transformation or change?
Transformation.
Right.
I think that's our whole life thing: death, birth, and transformation, over and over.
Indeed.
If we're lucky, we do have transformation. Oh, he was so beautiful. I mean, just beautiful. Oh, this creature that, that it was tragic. That was full flight, ready, and nothing.
Oh, right. So say what you said again about your creativity, that this was something about your creativity, but
Yeah.
in the
Right.
ice coffin.
The expression, being productive in a creative kind of way. I say creativity is God, because without creativity, I think our spirit dies. And so what we can express and who we are and what we do is all in that process of being, of being creative and seeing what it gets exposed or forward or whatever, who I am and what I'm about. Anyway, yes, it was shocking to see that bird.
Girl, you're singing my song.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
In my work with dreams, whenever we're shocked,
Yes.
it's like the alarm going off and the trumpet sounding and the ice floe cracking. It is, these kinds of dreams come to do what it is they do. They wake us up
Yes.
or make us more conscious of what is going on in me.
Pay attention.
Right,
Attention. This is
right.
serious. You're in trouble. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, let's talk some more about this transparent ice coffin where you can see that this is absolutely frozen. Tell me about coffins. You said you
So the coffin idea, of course, is that once you're in the coffin, you're gone.
yeah.
And so for this to be, I mean, again, obviously it was ice and not made of wood, but the ice itself really encapsulated this, it captured this, all of that creativity. It put it on ice, and
Yeah.
it was too big to be captured in ice.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't, I haven't played with the hugeness of it either. I haven't played with that much. It just came out talking with you just now that it was the enormity of that spirit of mine. And wow, that would have been devastating had I stayed. Oh, God. That was a close call.
Wow. This is really, really something. It's almost difficult to articulate because we're veering off in the area of the numinous. The numinous meaning that which is divine. The word numinous has to do with that Christ consciousness that's within us, or the creativity which is aligned with God himself that's working through us. We co-create our lives,
Yes.
with the divine.
That
And
is
this,
very emotional as you're talking, Karen.
yes, and so it is enormous. It's almost, and we have to be real careful.
Yeah.
It's almost too much. We have to be the appropriate containers for this, meaning we have to do our own work so that our ego strength is such that we can serve as this conduit of creativity in the world without getting overwhelmed by it. So I think I'm wondering if way back when you were the archaeologist in Antarctica and you were on autopilot and numbed out and everything, that was sort of I don't know, for the time being, it was rather necessary. And then you were being called into this because you had the ego strength to do it.
I agree. Thank you. That's very validating.
Okay. Do you think we got somewhere with this?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
okay, Dreamer, let me ask you this though. Had you worked on this dream prior?
Yes.
Okay. Did anything new come up today?
Absolutely. The whole thing about the companion and God and the whole sense of, I mean, I knew that it had to do with my creativity, but I hadn't thought about the enormity of the situation and that it really was so shocking, and the whole idea of being, revealing what was happening. It was a mirror in many ways, and it had to be shocking. I don't think I would have awakened.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Fantastic. Now, Here's a really important question. This dream has obviously stayed with you for quite some time. Is there anything about this dream, as we talk about it today, that connects to anything in your life now?
Oh boy, I don't even know how to put this because it feels it's I'm semi-retired. I have been a caregiver to many people in my life, including my husband, who had a terrible motorcycle accident and was paralyzed for 15 years. So my experiences and my commitment and devotion to working on deeply with the unconscious has given me my life.
Yes.
So I mean, a psychologist is an archaeologist in
We
many.
are,
Yeah.
aren't we?
So, and the owl has followed me throughout my life. I'm just going to share you that this one little piece of it. I went back to San Francisco where I went to school, graduate school, and I was visiting with a friend who had the piece tarot card deck, mother
Oh,
piece. And
yes.
the archetype, the Ace of Queens, I believe, is on an ice floe with an axe, and the snowy owl is in flight.
No, really.
So that's how I learned in many ways what in that deck there was so much about the writer. And at the time I was more infatuated with the idea of writing than the work it takes.
Yes.
So yes. And then
And it,
let me just say, prior to my husband's accident,
yes.
I rescued an owl.
Yes, the owl has gone with you. This image that you described from that tarot deck, was it
Yes.
the queen of what?
I think it might have been the priestess of aces. I'm not sure. That is the goddess card where she is standing on the ice floe in the Antarctic and the snowy owl is in flight.
Oh, wow. I, okay.
Might be able to find it online easy enough.
The next question I ask when we come to a place in working with your wonderful dream is, how will you honor this dream work today? You've already worked with the dream prior. Today brought perhaps some new associations and some new insights. So, I am a strong believer in doing something to honor the dream. If nothing else, think about it as a thank you note.
Yeah.
To the dream maker, hey, I heard the dream and I heard it again and I'm listening to it again. Thank you. Here's what I'm going to do to honor it. I'm wondering if that's one thing you could do, is go find that card.
I absolutely can do that. I want to see whether how it interprets it has any more information for me.
Exactly. I think it's very interesting that whichever it was something on the feminine side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The divine feminine is
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yes. And the association with Athena, because she's rarely shown without that owl.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What else might you do to honor the dreamer?
Well, part of the program, of course, is doing a lot of writing. So that is already in motion. Now, if I ever really do my own writing, which I started to do my own, the memoir stuff, just to keep track of everything that's taken place and happened in my life that I felt would be helpful to me just at this age to look back and recognize, I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm still here. So,
Yes.
so I would like to do a memoir. I mean, just again, if it's just for myself, it's about writing. And when that was part of the, tell your story with the
Yes,
yeah, spiritual direction. So
yes, yes.
that had so I told my story in the third person. So I did it like once upon a time. And it was interesting to do it in the third person because I could get some objectivity to see it, Otherwise I get confused and don't know where to go with it. Say too much,
Yeah.
say too little.
A few weeks ago, I interviewed someone who happened to be in a dream group that um, I belong to and help facilitate.
Yes.
And she, and it's been posted, it's on YouTube. And she wrote her memoir as a result of a dream that she had.
Oh, wow.
And it is published. It is a book
Oh,
that has been published by University of Mississippi Press.
love it.
And yeah, and
That's encouraging. Hmm.
yes, I just wanted to throw that out there.
You.
Yeah. That is a great way to honor this dream, is a kind of life review, a life review. And
Yes, the wisdom of one's life. The owl is also the wisdom. I forgot about that piece.
yeah, yes, yeah, that's why she belongs to Athena.
That's right.
These are brilliant. These are brilliant things to do. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say or look at, or anything we missed or we need to look more closely at?
No, I'm excited to get online and look for that card. Uh-huh. No, that's
Fan.
a wonderful process, Karen. Thank you. Wow, it listed a lot, and I'm feeling very excited about it again. So it's continued to serve me this long. It's
Yeah.
wonderful that you have been very honoring of my dream, and I appreciate that very much.
Well, I will say it had a lot of energy for me as well. The images did, and your associations with them did. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for offering us your dream, and for being so open and willing to share this with us. I just appreciate it.
Thank you for offering it. I'm just thrilled.